Hey everybody, this is Kevin with Miro. I'm working in customer success, and I have Lindsay with me today, and we'll be co-presenting today.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm Lindsay. I'm on the product marketing team here at Miro. We're so excited to have you on the call today to walk through a demo of Miro. Miro is an Atlassian partner, and we're a proud supporter of everything Atlassian does. We have a suite of Atlassian integrations to help Atlassian-powered teams. We'll be covering some of those integrations today during the demo to show you how you can integrate Miro and your Atlassian tools like JIRA with bidirectionally synced cards to use on our online whiteboard. Also by embedding Miro boards as visual documentation into JIRA, Confluence, and Trello. So really excited to show you that today. If you have questions today, feel free, it's a small group, so feel free to unmute and ask questions or to drop them in the chat. I have some additional colleagues on the call today, Joanna and Lena, who are helping us to monitor the chat and make sure we get all your questions answered. So for a quick intro, what is Miro? Who are we? We are an online collaborative whiteboard platform. We support distributed teamwork, and we enable teams to work together as if we're in the same room, regardless of their location. So we're getting a ton of interest in the last couple of weeks as many teams are fully remote, and we really help to replicate that in-person experience. And so we hope that we can show you some great ways that you can use Miro today. About Miro, we have been around since 2011. We are VC backed by Excel Ventures, and we have grown significantly over our lifespan, about 300% annually. We have over 4 million users around the world, and we work with some amazing companies like Netflix, Cisco, IKEA, Indeed, LinkedIn, and more that you can see here on the screen. We ourselves are distributed and currently are 100% distributed. So we use Miro every day to help us to collaborate around the world. We have offices in San Francisco, LA, Austin, Amsterdam, and in Perm. So that's just a little bit about Miro. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Kevin, who's going to take you through the demo of Miro today. Thanks again for joining.
Cool, thank you. So looking at this slide today, and we're going to do some demonstrations of some of the live features in just a little bit. But if you think about how teams are working, you're probably using a mixture of different task tracking tools, cloud storages, video conferencing like Zoom, the one we're using today, and probably also Slack, MS Teams, lots of different emails. But what Miro does is we're in this visual space where you can combine everything that you're already doing today with our integrations and use Miro as kind of the single source of truth for whiteboarding activities, team exercises, remote meetings, all sorts of things, but it's a very visual space. And I'll zoom out just for a second. So if you haven't seen us before, Miro also has this infinite canvas. So I'm zoomed out at 2% right now, so I can see a project progressing at a very high level, or I can get really granular and zoom very closely in, and we can basically work together on a very specific exercise. So I'm just jumping around the screen, so apologize if it's a little laggy on my side. But other than that, some key concepts. So what we're really good at, so the infinite canvas that I spoke about, we have different plans that kind of fit a lot of different needs. So you can have a free plan to use with your own personal work. We have team plans and enterprise plans for larger organizations. And some of our key focuses are around ideation and brainstorming. So in this example, we have a mind map and some sticky notes. This is all built in Miro and super interactive. I can add elements to this mind map really easily. And then these templates, we have an entire library that you can use so that you don't have to start from scratch. These are some of my personal ones, and then you can search under use cases for different categories that might fit your needs. So agile workflows, research and design are really huge, strategy and planning, mapping and diagramming, and workshop facilitation. So all these are there so that you can use that as a framework and then build upon it and start customizing it. I mentioned research and design, so different things like design sprints, empathy maps, lo-fi wireframing, building personas, really great place to do that in Miro. For agile workflows, doing things as simple as a retrospective can be done here in Miro as well. This example here, we have an automated Kanban, and then you can also just use a very traditional one where we throw a template into the background and just put sticky notes on top of it. Also really great is backlog grooming. So if you're working with a team and you wanted to do some voting, you can have a conversation around what to prioritize and then move forward from there. Strategy and planning is also great. We have some templates for OKR planning. You can use things like Miro for a company all hands meeting. So in this example, Lindsay's on the board with me. So if you see, I can turn her cursor on and you can see her move around the board. In our share dialog, you can invite as many people as you want to this board. They can view and comment or edit depending on what access level you give them. And we have use cases where we can invite 400 people onto the board and we can all drop in our feedback. Just moving along here, mapping and diagramming. So this is another template for a customer journey map, but you can also do lots of sort of diagramming. So if I were to add a sticky note in, you'll notice there's these 4 dots that come up. I can start mapping different flows really easily to another part of my canvas and just keep diagramming from there. So really cool customization options. You can see me doing a diagram on the fly really quickly, and we'll show you some live examples in just a second. But I'll pause for just a second. So if you guys have any sort of questions or any thoughts on what you guys like to see today, feel free to throw that in the chat box and we'll make sure we cover it. Otherwise, we'll just kind of go through some slides that we have available. But would love to hear your thoughts. And if you guys haven't used this before, maybe think of ideas on how you can use this in your own personal work. Great. So this first section here, it's an example of us doing some ideation together. So one way you could probably set this up with your teams or with just a group of people, you can give everybody a sticky note. And you can see that we've color-coded all these sticky notes. To add a sticky, it's really easy. This toolbar here on the left is for content creation. And this toolbar on the bottom is for anything presenting. So if I wanted to add a sticky, I can just hover over and then add a sticky here. And then you can also look at some shortcuts to get to this. But we've already set this one up. All the different names are here, and you can see everybody's feedback. You can see Lindsay as well, just dropping in new ideas, and I can quickly do that as well. So I'll just change the size of mine to add a little bit of focus, maybe change the color. And then this question is, what are our must-have features for a collaborative online whiteboard? So probably easy to use, flexible, and you can see everybody has previous feedback on here as well. So a couple questions coming in the chat box. So definitely we'll cover the JIRA integration. And then we had a couple other ones that, well, I'll let Lena and Joanna kind of facilitate that a little bit. But
yeah, Kevin, I'm monitoring as well. So I'm going to, on a different area of the board, start to pull in some of the templates, additional templates people are interested in seeing. So we can kind of cover those after you finish this Agile workflow demo.
Okay, sounds good. So this first section was just more around ideation and brainstorming, setting it up so that we can have lots of people participate. You can see the custom shapes and colors, so we can be really visual. The next step after we have a lot of ideas that's kind of thrown onto our canvas is to do a little synthesis. So we started grouping the key ideas and feedback that came up, and then we use these bigger stickies to represent a larger category. So these are just regular stickies. We put some color on them. To make a large sticky, you can just change the shape here. You can also click on the sticky and just manually change the shape type here. But we have some key topics that came up. We have unsorted cards, templates, elements, whiteboard tools, and collaboration tools, and then just various things that came up. You'll also notice here that we did a little bit of dot voting. So we assigned a color to each participant, and we have all our different dots that we just pre-created on the board. So we just have a shape tool, and now you can just drag and drop like these dots on any sort of category. So it's a good way to vote. Dot voting is just really visual, and then you can see where things start to cluster up, which show that this is a very popular section that people want some feedback, and they voted for this topic especially. You'll also notice we added these tags. So tagging is a great way to add more context to something. So the sticky notes, they support emojis as well. So you can add on just other visual reactions to something. But tags in general are just another important way to kind of categorize things. So I can tag things like priority, putting my name on something. If you guys do interviews with customers, you can put the customer name on it. But super flexible, you can pretty much type in any tag you want and go back and search for those later. So for example, we tag these with templates. I can go to the search on the top, type in templates. And no matter where I'm on the board, the templates will show up. And if I click on it, it'll take me directly to that sticky that has that tag. So just imagine you guys are working with hundreds of different sticky notes, and you guys don't want to kind of have to go back and read each one individually. This is a good way to kind of support your synthesis later on, and also just categorize things later. Part of the next step is this. So we took the most popular items, we put it on here to start prioritizing. So if you guys work in an agile manner, or you guys have Kanban boards, or even work in Scrum teams, this is one way you can visually represent a backlog or just maybe a sprint. So in this example, we've already put the top items on here, and now we're gonna basically decide which one should be prioritized as high, medium, or low. And you can see Lindsay already putting in the work in to help prioritize this. Yeah, so maybe these things are not mission critical, and these ones we want to work on first. So we can do that in a sprint or just general. Next section here specifically focuses on kind of our JIRA integration. So you'll notice here we have a sticky note with a tag on it. And there's two ways our JIRA integration works in this mode. So what I can do to start is I'll take the sticky note. You can see there's a JIRA icon. I've already installed it. I'm going to convert this sticky note into a live JIRA issue. It's tied to different projects. I can change my issue type depending on what I want to do. All these features that are shown here are just mapped to whatever you have in JIRA. So these can also be customized. So this is what I want. I'm going to keep the priority high. Here's a quick summary that's already been on the card, or sorry, the sticky note. And you can also add a long form description if you want, but I'll go ahead and convert that. And you can see the sticky note changed into one of these cards here. So this is part of the bidirectional integration. If I wanted to edit this, I can open it up, and it's going to open up this modal window into JIRA. And here you can just basically log into what you have in JIRA and start editing this sticky note. So this created new, and if I made any updates on the JIRA side, it would update here. If I zoom in a little bit more, you can see that I have the status, the issue type, the priority, and the assignee. And this also works in conjunction with my template. So this template here, I put the sprints up. These are my different teams and milestones. So I can just drag and drop this into maybe my third sprint, and then start assigning dependencies if there are any. So the more dots icon that comes up, I can link it to this feature, for example. And then you can even change the lines with some more color, thickness, and if it's a dotted line or whatever you guys want. But yeah, really customizable and really visual here.
And when you move a card, do those connector lines stay attached?
Yeah, these connector lines stay attached here. So if something does move to sprint 2, but they're still dependent, it'll move along with it.
And let's say that we had, we were kind of starting from the planning phase and all of our issues already existed in JIRA. We weren't converting them. How would we go about getting them into Miro?
Okay, good question. So I'm gonna open up another app here. So I also have JIRA installed. What I would do is click on JIRA, and I can export issues that exist already in JIRA and move them onto my canvas. So if you guys know specifically what you're looking for, there's an advanced search. You can do a JCool search and use our filters as well. I don't have any filters customized for this, but just very quickly here, I'll start selecting a lot of different issues and work items I have available. So I've already selected 20, and I'll go ahead and add those on right now. So you can see here, I just quickly added on these 20 existing issues from JIRA, and I can move that onto a Kanban like this one. Just showing this Kanban too, this is one of our interactive templates. So I have backlog, in progress, and done here. You can see that when I drag on an existing card, it'll just lock on to these specific columns and rows here.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Vikram.
By moving a card to a particular sprint, it does the automatic update in JIRA and assigns it to that sprint and all that stuff?
Actually, these are just kind of visual iframes, so
Oh,
it won't
okay.
interact in that way, but you can actually open them up and change like the status here,
Okay.
but it won't update your JIRA board or anything.
So same thing about the dependencies. If you draw a dependency between two, it's not going to go and update the JIRA linked to field or anything like that.
Yeah, not today at least. That's something that we're thinking about, but
Okay.
today it's more of just a visual map, so you can put on all these ideas and not have really any consequence between like deleting these or changing it. But visually, if you're working in a group,
Right.
everybody can be on the same page. And if you're doing something like this today, somebody usually has to, at the end of the meeting, someone's in charge of updating all the new issues.
Yep.
So this is kind of a way to help bridge that gap too. But yeah, great
All right,
question.
thank you.
No problem.
So sorry, Kevin, just about that. So it'll update the visual on the page here, but then you still have to go into JIRA later to make the actual adjustments.
Exactly, yeah. But
Okay.
the actual information inside the cards, you're able to update them here at least. And then also, since it's bidirectional, if you update it on the other side, these visual cards will update that information too. So if you're in JIRA and you change the status will change here, but you still have to manually move these like back and forth.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so it really does operate kind of like the online version of your physical whiteboard, replicating that whiteboard experience for the Agile team to see everything visually.
Awesome.
Kevin, are there any other templates that we can use JIRA cards in?
Yeah, so we have lots of different templates in general, but let's say you guys are, let me open up the template library here. The Kanban is one we showed already. You can also do it in sort of a retrospective manner. And let's say I wanted to do like PI planning in a much larger group. That's another huge use case as well. Lindsay, was there any other specific ones you could think of?
The user story mapping template.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's show that example right now too. So let's add in this one as an example.
Actually, the user story map framework. That
Oh,
shows,
okay.
has the interactive version. There it is, Sam.
Where did I just put that?
I think it's
Let
on
me
the
grab
board
it again.
to the left.
Zoom out here. No, maybe I forgot to click it or something. Let me grab it again.
Okay.
So this is another template that's already kind of pre-built for you. Oops. Let me move it here and just make it a lot larger so you guys can see it and zoom in. But for this user story map template, we've already filled out like MVP backlog and these existing cards for you. The nice thing about this is these are Miro's cards, but you're also able to basically change this into a live ticket or a live JIRA issue. So I can click on one of these, go to the JIRA, convert to JIRA issue feature, and then change one of these, or just take an existing backlog and drag and drop these on. So yeah, basic idea, you can start with stickies, convert them to cards, or just import existing cards over. You can see here too that we can quickly add just by clicking the plus sign, like different new issues, and you can create different swim lanes really fast. If I click on this too, I can just add like another column. So now I just added that release one. And you can just quickly undo if you made a mistake. But yeah, good call out there. One other part is retrospective. So this is actually a really basic way to interact with Miro. So if you guys haven't tested retrospectives live or you're doing it in another tool, this is a good way to continue to use Miro, but in a really simple and visual manner. So yeah, test this out if you guys haven't, but this one's really easy. What was good, what was bad, some new ideas and actions. But you definitely don't have to use this template. We have a bunch of different other ones, and you can change the questions and change the ideas to what's relevant to your team. So having a virtual retrospective in Miro is a really nice use case. Also for those still using just basic sticky notes on an analog board, we definitely agree that this is never going away. So we have a couple ways you can continue to, so this one we just took a real photo and just dropped it onto the board. But we also have the sticky recognition tool. So you can see here, this is the original. I'll show you guys live what that looks like, but I'll go into my sticky capture tool. Use this photo here. And then Miro's gonna pick up on the text on this. So you can see the text isn't perfect, but it is set up pretty nicely where everything's separated. And if we didn't pick up something, you can actually just add a section and just capture that. But let me go ahead and add that to the board. So this works with stickies, but it also works with things like a flip chart or just different pages of text. And these are editable too. So really cool feature for anyone who still works with a lot of paper stickies, whiteboarding, and if you guys have a flip chart or anything else, like test it out with that. It works really nice. Works with mobile too. So we have a mobile app, tablet app. You can take pictures and use the sticky recognition tool there.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch. How did you invoke the sticky recognition tool?
So you just have to download the app. So we have this app store. Let me show you guys right now. So you can find apps that are relevant. This one's just the sticky capture tool. And then from there, you download the app and then you can use it to convert paper stickies into the digital ones.
Got it, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah, you can access it from your desktop, or there's also an option to access it from the mobile app. So if you take a photo on your phone, you can open up the Miro mobile app and go to the board that you want to upload those stickies on and find it there on the mobile app as well. So that's a really easy way to do it.
Any tips on the OCR portion of it? Like, does it have to be a fairly good block writing and so forth?
You know, I did with some terrible handwriting the other day, and it was really good. I think I even had some like almost cursive in there, and it was pretty good. So I've had really good experience with it. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I think the background is a little bit important too. So yeah, the better the background that you have to like clearly separate them, it'll help with a lot. But yeah, it does a really good job with picking up text. So like this one is pretty good.
It's very surprising. I tried it. I even tried it in French also to see about the word recognition, and it was very efficient.
That's awesome. Yeah, good feedback.
Yeah, I think it supports 110 languages. I think that's right.
Does it? Because the version I had, it said that word recognition was linked to English only.
Oh, really? I thought, I may be wrong, but we're using, OCR technology we're using can recognize multiple languages, I believe.
Yeah, but I think it's when it doesn't recognize a language, it goes or letter by letter.
English.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, definitely encourage you guys to test that out. Maybe check out our marketplace. This next section that I wanted to talk about is just what our integrations look like with the actual Atlassian suite. So the first one is Confluence. So let me show you a page that I have in Confluence. I embedded this exact board that I'm working on into Confluence. So you can see here, I have permissions to edit, so I can actually go in and edit. But once you set this up live, you can change it to view only or comment, but really depends on what you guys want. But you can see the interactions pretty smooth. And then if you guys have lots of different like pages in Confluence, it's a good way to just show people exactly what you mean with a board.
Yeah, I think this is really helpful when text-based just really won't do the trick. Like, let's say you have diagrams, system architectures, customer journey maps. It's great to embed your Miro board. Also, commenters and viewers are free licenses. So when you embed this board and you set the permission to like anyone can comment or anyone can view, then it's going to allow people who may not be in your instance of Miro, maybe a development team, or so, some other team that you would love to get their feedback, but they don't have a license, then they can just access it straight from Confluence. They don't need to come into Miro.
Yeah, good point. The next one that we wanted to share is, so JIRA, you can also do the same thing. So I can open up JIRA and just embed a Miro board there as well. We also have a Trello feature. So if you guys are using Trello or have a use case for it, you can open up Trello download Miro as a power-up, and then folks can preview the board the same way without leaving Trello. And I put the same exact board that I'm working on today here. So just giving that time to load, but I have a bunch of stuff open. But once it's open, you can see it has the same functionality as well, based on the permissions that you give them. So I can see Lindsay and myself like on another board because I have this open like 3 times, but that's that one. And I think that's the only ones we wanted to show for this part here.
Awesome.
So we're only about, what, half an hour in right now. So let's see. Let's start answering some other questions that folks might have had live here.
Yeah, Kevin, there was a couple questions above. So we had a question about using Miro for Gantt charts. And if you scroll down, I went ahead and added a Gantt template for you down below to the left there. And then we had another question about using Miro for PI planning. So I thought it'd be great if we could cover those for the audience.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this is one template for the Gantt chart. And then for PI planning, Lindsay, looks like you've already had this one too. So this is a pretty typical agenda that we have. So you can have the program backlog here. This is the larger program board. A lot of times what happens too is all the different teams are going to be listed. Let me add another template that we have, just as another example. So I have this one here. Let me make it larger so everybody can see. But here we have pretty basic agenda, program backlog, all the different teams here. You can customize the team and then set up a team board for each one. So let's say I wanted to connect this. There's an option to link it. And this can be linked to another board outside, or you can just keep using the same board because it's an infinite canvas. It just, whatever the teams prefer to work in. But a lot of times the teams will come up with their own creative names, and then you can jump over to that person's or that team's team board and then have them break off and work in this section. So they'll do capacity, load estimation. You could do a roam board live as well. And then like a live confidence vote. And the same way we use those JIRA issues before, you would use the PI planning board in that same way. So these would be live tasks. Oops. And then all the teams can see what they're dependent on or what someone's working on, and they can still see the dependencies live.
Yeah, PI planning is a big use case for us here at Miro for companies who have travel restrictions or are looking honestly just to save money on travel as a department or to meet more frequently. Miro has really enabled them to replicate that in-person experience for big room and PI planning online.
What kind of scale have you seen this being used at? Like, have you heard of hundreds of people using this for PI planning?
Yeah, even before the current situation of COVID-19 today, we had other companies use us specifically for this use case. 200 people, 400 people, and it really depends on like what the organization is trying to do. Right. But even for PI planning, like when you're doing it live in person, a lot of the times like this is not scalable when you're doing it on just like a large whiteboard. So you run out of space and then somebody has to take a photo of this and make sure everybody has access to it later. So this is a great way to do the work like asynchronously, especially for global teams. So we've had lots of use cases where a global organization is using us in conjunction with their in-person events when they can't either join or basically scale this out. So yeah, definitely use case for large groups. And we do support lots of concurrent users. We're built on this like multi-gamer platform. So similar to what you would see with like StarCraft and Warcraft, this is it supports lots of like multiplayer actions.
One more question. I've been playing with this before. The smart tags, the tags are not smart tags, right? They won't do math. So if you have 10 stories of 3 points on one team board, it will not add up and show you 30 or whatever.
Yeah, so that's more of some feedback that we'd love to continue to hear. We're always trying to improve some of the analytics and data that you can get out of it. So yeah, if you have any feedback, definitely submit it to support@miro.com. Or if you guys have any of your customer success managers that are working with you, feel free to reach out to those folks too. But yeah, that's good feedback, but we don't have that available today, you're right.
That's awesome.
Kevin, for a facilitator who's running an online session, what are some tips or tricks that you would have for them? Some cool features they can use in Miro to help them facilitate an online session.
Yeah, so let's kind of switch gears here. So I'm going to open up just another frame, and then we'll use this kind of as our workspace. But for any remote facilitation, we do recommend using icebreakers. So you can do live icebreakers in Miro. And then also there's a notes section on the top right-hand side. This is actually really good because you can set up some pre-work here, set up a to-do list, a meeting agenda, and then export this out before the meeting. So in this section, let's say you're working on a workshop and it's a 2-day workshop. We can break out the days here. We can also pin this little agenda. Oops. We can pin the agenda here and provide really specific instructions.
So audience members who land on the board will see, you'll know that they'll be able to see this.
Yeah, exactly. And then what I can also do is I can add a specific board object from my canvas. So if you know it's a workshop and there's going to be very specific parts to go to. So let's say this is our first activity. I can add that first activity to my agenda here. And then let's say there's 4 total interactive parts of my workshop. I can section them off here. And then when people click on this, it'll take them to that specific spot. So for meeting facilitation, it's a little bit difficult making sure everybody's on the same page, but you can point to this and make sure the most important sections are labeled here. And then also put in very explicit instructions on what the activities are going to, or what things you're going to be doing during those activities.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the collaboration features for facilitators, such as screen share, timer, and frames to help them sort of manage the audience?
Yeah, of course. So all the activities that you have, so in that agenda, maybe you'll break off, let's say 10 minutes for some of the sections. This timer option, I'm going to make it just 5 seconds so you can hear what it sounds like. But I started the timer, and then at the end of however many minutes you put, this little jingle goes off to designate this is time to stop. And then let's say we had some stickies here. For example, let's use our voting tool. So we have a voting tool where you can do an anonymous vote on a specific part of your canvas, or the whole thing if you wanted to. But I'm just going to make it really small and focus it on these sticky notes or objects here. So everybody on the board with me can vote if they have edit access. And then they can vote on sticky notes, text, shapes, cards, whatever you want basically in this section. But I'm going to make it just sticky notes. And then here is where you can set the duration. I'm just going to do 1 minute, and then you can give X amount of votes per person. And then I'll just start the vote now. So Lindsay and I are on the board, so she can vote too. And then I give us 1 minute each. But I'm done voting, so I'm going to stop Lindsay from voting too now, and then end the vote for everybody. What Miro is going to do is they're going to automatically stack rank all the different stickies that were voted on. So for meeting facilitation, for workshops, this is really important to kind of drive engagement. You want people to kind of continue sharing their opinion on something, and then also kind of get a feel for how people feel about a specific topic or what they want to work on.
Yeah, and I think it's a great alternative to dot voting if you want to run an anonymous vote as well, because built in through Miro would be anonymous for you. And
then also as a facilitator, you're going to be in charge of kind of setting up the board so everybody knows where to work and maintain their focus. Some pain points are accidentally moving things around. So you want to make sure that you click on the frames or objects that should stay in the background and just lock those things down. So when I lock something down, it's now no longer movable. This one I didn't lock down, so you can see I can keep moving it. But if it's part of just the background or an agenda, just lock it down so that people can't move it by accident.
So for like maybe the program board, just go ahead and highlight that whole board and lock it to the background.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so before you start adding on like different objects and elements, make sure you guys lock these down so that nobody accidentally moves it. But stickies you don't want to lock down so people can move it.
Definitely. We had a question about Miro screen share. Can you show us how that works?
Yeah, so Lindsay's on the board with me so she can follow along. But if I click on the screen sharing option here on the bottom in the presentation tool, it'll give me an option to start my screen share. And then what happens on Lindsay's side is she'll have this little play button. And if she hits play, then she'll just literally follow me around on the canvas.
So are there any other questions from the audience that we can cover for you guys today?
Those the Rome board label that you see on the middle of the screen, right? The top left, yeah, where the, how does one get that on a frame? Is that the frame label?
Yeah, so this is, there's two ways to do it. So I can click on the bottom left-hand side and then this brings up all my different frames.
Oh, okay.
You can actually just use this to navigate too. So that's another cool benefit of having this. But it's also a good way if you're just planning to present. So let me show you just a full present mode really quickly. So if there's parts of your presentation or parts of the work where you just want to present specific slides, you can do that. And then that little area on the top left is just the name of the frame. So you can edit that here. Or you can just click right on top of it and then just change it.
And in frames, you can also go to a list view of frames. So he was in the icon view, but you can also go to the list view and you can edit the names of your frames there as well. Oftentimes what I do is have like a 1, 2, 3, and 4. So even if my frames are scattered around the board as I'm organizing them into a presentation, I'll put those numbers on and then I can use this to like quickly organize my presentation, because regardless of where your frames exist on the board, the presentation mode will follow whatever order you dictate here. We had a question about exporting options for Miro.
Okay, cool. So there's a couple ways you can export. So on the very top, there's this export icon. If you click on that, you can save the board as an entire template so that you don't have to recreate your work later. But if you're looking to change it into a different format, we also offer PDF and just separate images. So if I go to save to PDF, I can do like same quality or best quality. And then also if I wanted to do save as image, if I pick Victor, then this little part is going to be converted to a PDF, or you're just going to take a screenshot basically on a JPEG here. And you can change this to whatever size you want and take the pieces that you like.
And when exporting the entire board with PDF, your frames will each become a page in your PDF. So frames are also a great way to manage what your export looks like. You can export slides, and Miro will recognize each frame as a page for your PDF export.
I have a question for the CSV export. Do you have some good practices that you could share so that the columns in the CSV or eventually Excel make sense?
Yeah, exporting out's a little bit tricky. So you just have to be really intentional about like the organization of your stickies. So anything that's, it's not the easy or best example, but it has to be like in the same column and it'll export that out first. So just arranging the columns, but that's kind of not I guess our best practice around exporting out. You really kind of want to avoid exporting everything out to an Excel sheet, but you can export things from Excel into Miro really easily. Exporting out, it's difficult because it's a lot of unstructured data that you'd have to account for. So we recommend exporting things in. Exporting out is a lot harder for sticky notes, at least.
What Miro will do for you during a CSV export, right, is it will export whatever information is on that sticky note as a column. If you have any tags, it'll export that as a column as well. And on the cards, you'll also get a column for who the assignee was, I believe. So it will organize the different data points into columns for you. Yeah, but I'm not sure how it manages like the order in which it exports. That was a good point, Kevin.
Yeah, but yeah, if you have any more feedback on that too, I think we're coming out with other solutions for some of the data exports, but yeah, definitely continue to send that feedback over to us so we can make those general improvements or get it to our product team.
I may have missed this, but if you create a new like JIRA issue on Miro, can you then export that to JIRA, or do you still have to copy that in JIRA later on?
Just so I understand, so let's say this is a brand new issue,
Yep.
and you wanted to export that into JIRA.
Yes, correct.
It should be done automatically in this case. So this is basically me just making a call into JIRA. So I have, this new ticket that I want to make or this new issue type. This will automatically add it once I convert it. So.
Oh, and then it will show up in JIRA as well at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So now when I go back to JIRA, to at least in Miro, to pick it out, it'll show up here. And also in JIRA, your existing list of issues it'll be added to this list or in that database.
Okay, that's awesome. So the only thing it doesn't do is if later on you're saying then you make updates, is that not live as well?
I think what someone referenced earlier is there is an actual JIRA Kanban that exists in JIRA. And if you move it from like one column to another, this won't update the actual information on these cards. Like they're just separate Kanbans basically. But
So
the information that lives in the card will be updated.
Yeah, any changes you make in the fields of that card will be updated in JIRA, but if you change the location on a Miro board, let's say from to-do column to in-progress column, that won't automatically change the status in JIRA. You'd have to update the status, which you can do right from the board.
Okay, perfect. The rest is. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Last call for questions.
I think we also had questions in chat about the security of our JIRA integration and security of Miro overall. So we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, so we can send you guys some information about our security on our website, but we're SOC 2 certified, and basically these integrations, we've been approved with a few thousand organizations actually to be able to use this. It really depends on your organization's security and what the requirements are, but we're just duplicating what you have in JIRA. So we're not actually pulling live data. We're just we're using your existing credentials in Atlassian and just displaying them. So there isn't much risk in terms of us housing any data. We're just using this iframe to display your data for JIRA.
Yes, and if your organization requires a security review in order for you to use Miro or to access your instance of JIRA, we do have a team to support you in that and an enterprise plan that supports those kinds of initiatives. And you may get to work with Kevin.
Yeah. Awesome.
A question
Well, thanks
about
everybody for. Oh yeah.
About the story mapping template. What I saw is that you can add issue or tickets or what you call it, cards from top to bottom, but not from left to right under an activity, let's say, under new task.
Yes.
Can you add stay in under new task, but add to the left?
Yeah, Kevin, if you want to go up to the yellow cards and add an additional task to the left or the right, and show how you can add that.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, I want to keep it under activity, but have a new story to the left instead of to the bottom. New story, you see, under the MVP, because the logic of story mapping, from what I understand, is that from left to right, it's then, and from top to bottom, it's or. So if I want to have this kind of conversation where under new task, I have this story, and this one and this one and this one, and I go to the left or to the right for me.
Yeah.
And the or are, you see what I'm getting at? Is it possible to add to the right, or is just that it's not done that way?
Yeah, I don't think it's done that way with this automated one. So you're just gonna kind of be constrained to being able to add like these different columns here and adding new stories in a row. But that might just be kind of an organization thing. If this doesn't fit what you're working on, you can also just make your own and then drag these like cards on top of that background. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you wanted to find out more about that, you can also contact support and we can show you a couple things. But yeah, Lindsay just added on kind of this more unstructured one where it doesn't have the confined columns and like the automated ones. But you can always convert these to the issues that you want and move these around freeform.
For sure. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And then
Iris asked about temporary locking other users from moving around the board, for example, when you're presenting. Iris, yes, and if you caught our screen share demo just a few minutes ago, when you start a screen share, it locks other users from being able to edit during the time that you are presenting. So it's a great remote presentation capability.
Also, just during this regular present, you won't see anybody else's cursors moving around. It's just kind of, hey, this is the focus of the meeting right now. And then when you escape out of this, you can jump in back to the more engaging like workshop modes or just regular. Yeah, great questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you so much, Kevin, for taking us through this awesome demo.
Yeah, no problem.
We would love to, Kevin, if you want to just go to our happy hour page there. We are going to be doing another session on Friday morning Pacific time, so 9 a.m. Pacific, an online virtual happy hour. So if you would like to hang out with and chat with other Miro power users and some of our internal team members, there is a board that we'll all be collaborating on. So we'd love to see you there. And yeah, I think that's all from us. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of the Atlassian Summit. And please reach out to us via support if you ever have questions about Miro.